All right, so this is just We the People News one more time. All right, not attorney, not giving legal advice. I may give my opinion only. Y'all do not take legal advice. Okay, this is gonna be a follow up with James Freeman. This is second elite. Uh, I can't even pronounce the word. Legacy. Legacy. All right. And I thought, well, because I seen that a few couple of weeks ago, and then I seen this one today when I was taking a break from studying. Uh, these actually go together, and it was, you know, totally different people, totally different states. I'm assuming, okay. But listen to this.
All right, Tim. This is I think this one's gonna tickle your happy bone. This is gonna be good. I think you're gonna like this one.
Okay.
I don't even know what a happy bone is, but we're just gonna go with it. So, how are you, man?
I don't know if I can show my happy bone on the internet.
No, I don't think you can. But I was hoping we'd walk right past that and just kind of count that as that was dumb to say. Okay. Well, you know what? We're just gonna leave it in there and just show people that's what we do here at the Second Legacy.
This is my happy bone. My happy bone.
We just roll right there, of course, right on the elbow, right behind the weenus. So, how are you, Tim?
I'm doing.
Tim, let's get back to the happy bones.
Yeah. Well, let's just move on. It's getting weird again.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's getting weird. Okay, I got you. Well, Tim, on a more masculine note,
Yes.
we're going to talk about armed citizens patrolling their areas to protect themselves, their families, and their properties. What do you think about this, Tim?
I think that's a perfectly fine constitutional activity. It's part of the reason why we have a Second Amendment. We are our own first responders. People have become way too reliant on public services. Public services that the Supreme Court has held has no obligation to protect you or your family. They have no obligation to respond. They have no obligation to do anything other than to show up and take a police report, and they may or may not do that afterwards. So, yeah, you're responsible for your own safety. I have no problem with that.
We're going to pause it there for a second, just in case for some people out there don't realize this. The Supreme Court did say that. So, this Valley thing in Texas, all that, the officers not rushing in there, technically, it wasn't their job by the Supreme Courts. Now, that being said, on my behalf, should the cops really have said that? I mean, they took an oath to protect our Constitution, and yet the Supreme Court says they don't have to do nothing. And the next other question is, if they're not supposed to be their job to do that, people, why are you paying them to be there? Think about it. And then you got officer safety above your own. Then you got a federal court that says it's okay for officers to shoot the victim to slow down the bad guy. I mean, it's gotten so out of control of these Supreme Courts, giving all these protections to officers, and we end up becoming victims of not of criminals, but from officers themselves. Just saying.
So I think we left some ambiguity there. How do you really feel? So, something I say on my channel a lot of the time is the police forces are kind of like HR departments. Now, of course, they do de-escalate emergency situations when they're there, but a majority of the time they come after the main infraction has occurred. A lot of the time they do, and sometimes that response time is slow. So you're putting a lot of energy, reliance, and weight on the state to come and help you, depending on what's going on in the area. But that's not what's happening here in Hartford, Connecticut, Tim, of all the places. Of all the freaking places.
Yeah.
So let's dive into this because I think this is fascinating. Mr. Producer, could you throw number 1 up? Armed citizens patrol considered to address gun violence in Hartford. Now, Tim, obviously, the first thing that stands out there, that's impossible because Hartford is in the middle of a gun control zone. A big one.
Deep Blue, yes. Sadly, that's where the original Colt factory was, and now it's turned into this.
That doesn't make sense. It's not possible, Tim. There are so many laws.
Yeah.
So many laws. This has got to be an error.
Yes.
Must be.
It's a mistake.
It has to be. In fact, why would people even consider picking up arms themselves because they have a police force and all these gun control laws. On paper, this seems like a fool's errand, Tim.
Yes, they're perfectly safe. They've legislated themselves into safety. Apparently, it's not working though. I wonder why.
Yeah, that's weird. And it's something else that's kind of weird, Tim. Something else we've seen in times of crisis and in times of unrest. A lot of times, people who band together in groups with Second Amendment rights and defending themselves constitutionally, they tend to do pretty well and they protect themselves. I think of L.A. and the rooftop. I think they were called the rooftop Koreans at the time.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Well,
I mean, that's another example.
Criminals are generally simple creatures, right? Mm-hmm. They like a lot of folks take the path of least resistance. If you're standing out there armed, chances are they're going to find another victim that isn't, because there's plenty of victims out there to be had thanks to the laws we pass. So it's one of those things that is a strong deterrent. And they'll cite all these statistics like, well, you're more likely to be killed in your home with a gun than you are to actually use it in self-defense. No, actually the opposite is true, because there are millions of instances every year that go unreported where people produce a handgun in a threatening situation or a rifle, and then the threat goes away magically, as threats tend to do when they're met with equal force or greater force. So you're being lied to by the media. Shocking.
No, Tim, you stop it. They would never lie to you.
No.
They are the most reliable, trustworthy news on. And get the weather, by the way, while you're in traffic.
Yes.
I mean, they are by far the most convenient, most trustworthy, and they would never put their propagandistic terms and goals ahead of your safety.
No.
Never.
No.
It's
all about saving
the children. They're not all owned by 6 corporations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all owned by the same people. No, you are a conspiracy theorist. Let's continue so we don't get in more trouble. So, this is number 2, Mr. Producer. Tim, did you know that addressing gun violence in Hartford with citizen armed patrols, that's what the local activist said community members are asking for. Quote, historically, oppressed people have taken up arms to protect themselves. As an African American, I don't see anything wrong with it, activist and gun owner Cornell Lewis said.
I have a question, though. Are they being oppressed or are they dealing with crime? I'm not sure which.
I mean, I guess that actually depends on your interpretation of the word oppressed, because technically, any type of oppression of any type, whether it be from a criminal, like kind of like the Magnificent Seven type situation, or a state overbearing on your rights, I mean, technically, I guess oppression doesn't really have to do with specifically who's doing it. I guess it's just the action, isn't it?
I guess. So if I steal your car, I'm oppressing you? Okay. I just wanted to get that clear, because words have...
Or the city passes a law that your grass can't be grown more than 2 inches, and if it gets above 2 inches, then they'll fine you. That's oppression. All right? Because it's my property. It's mine. None of their business.
No, words are important. But zooming out from that one word, they have a point.
They do have a point.
I mean, like, people have taken up arms to protect themselves. That was the entire founding of our country.
Mm-hmm. And the whole purpose of the Second Amendment.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like they're, to be honest, onto something. Mm-hmm. But Tim, we can't have this. We cannot have vigilante justice in a city of gun control laws, because that would imply that something's not working.
Yes. Put your guns down, citizens. We're here to help.
Exactly.
Lock yourselves in your house.
Go wrong.
Comply.
It's okay. Nothing will go wrong. That's right. Comply.
Yeah.
Compliance is the key. Speaking of words have meaning. But let's go to number 3, because this just keeps on getting more enticing to me. Lewis is helping coordinate a response to the recent gun violence in the city. We're patrolling the neighborhood, but we have guns because the Second Amendment says that if you have a license, you are allowed to carry one. Well, I mean, listen, I'm going to take it where I got it, okay? Like, let's just...
God bless him. His intent's there. I mean, he means well, but
yes,
wow.
The intent is there. He got... It's a little mixed-mashed. I think, Tim, for the people of Second Legacy, I think they know what we're about to say, but I think for people who are new, we got to dive in here. The Second Amendment does not say, if you have a license, you have the right to carry a firearm.
Matter of fact, what we commonly refer to as constitutional carry means no license required, because the Second Amendment is your license if you want a license. Now,
correct.
The Second Amendment doesn't give you the right to keep and bear arms. It assures the right, guarantees the right.
Against the government infringing upon said
rights.
I think we need to set up camp on 2 important things here. First of all, I don't want to dog Lewis, because He's going the right direction.
Yes.
He's going the right direction. I think that's important. But at the same time, this also speaks to the level of mindset in blue states and blue bastions where gun control is a standard and a norm. Because they've got him understanding that the Second Amendment says as long as you are licensed by the state, you can have this right.
Yeah.
And that is the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
I mean, what this should have read is, the Second Amendment gives us the right to bear these arms. The state is infringing upon us with a license requirement, but we're complying with that just so we can protect ourselves. That's the way that should have been read.
Yeah. And the unfortunate part of this is, you know, people that aren't in the know will read this article and go, well, see, need a license.
See, need a license to be constitutional. No, you do not.
No.
You need a license to be compliant with a state level law, which is an infringing state to say the least.
Yeah.
But like I said, to his credit, he is going the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, like
he's taking a few side roads, but he's getting where he needs to go.
Yeah. He's taking the scenic route, but he's going the right direction.
Yeah.
But you know, Tim, as we go into this, and then I got two more things for us. Zoom out a little bit. Like when we talk about these types of things, this speaks to something much larger than just, you know, we have a Second Amendment license or guaranteed right to have a license to have a gun. When you zoom out a little further than that, this kind of speaks to the reason why they're doing this. Yes, they may not be perfect on their nomenclature. They may not be perfect on their language. They may not be perfect on their understanding. But at the end of the day, they are connecting in a deep blue city, in a deep blue state, that self-reliance with your rights is going to be a better alternative than relying on the police who have failed you and the politicians who have failed you. That's really the big story here. It's not the flashy Second Amendment patrols. It's the idea that the state residents are going, this isn't working.
Yeah.
That's the big deal.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to leave it right there to kind of keep the video short if you want to check him out. There you guys go. Go to his channel, right? And again, I cannot pronounce that word. All right, second legacy. Oh my goodness, one of those days. All right, didn't get very much sleep. Anyway, I thought this was to be a good follow-up from James Freeman to this right here. People, your neighbors are your best protections when you got honorable people around you. And, come on people, you're right in the middle of the conflict. Officers are minutes, in some cases hours away. Alright, they don't want to be in the conflict. It's like, wait a minute, there's people at that house? Let's take our time, let's go have coffee first. Anyway, and when they do this, it's always tried to be going after the victim as well, because something they did wrong as well, and they're going to have to go to court and spend all kinds of money. The bad guy, if they do catch them, right, they're going to be spending money in the courts. It's a money operation. And they get double money from the victim and from the criminals. Diesel Weed People News. Out of practice. Till next time. Bye, y'all.